So you have probably already seen this level because I did wait a bit to cover it instead of doing it instantly, but I still want to talk about Ashden Ball Trials because there's something to do with this level that really confuses me, and we'll get to talking about it in a minute. But first, I should at least explain what Ashden Ball Trials is. As you can see here, it's created by someone called Ursary06, and this level blew up pretty quickly as soon as it got showcased by Nexus and some other people, because, well, it's a remake of Ashden Wave Trials. There was a couple other instances with levels that basically used the Ashden Wave Trials format after it got verified, and even before the level got verified, they all kind of blew up, and this is one of them. It's one of the more recent ones. And instead of being entirely Wave, it is entirely Ball, and instead of having a pink aesthetic, it uses a gray aesthetic. And personally, I really like this one because I think it's the most original. The gameplay is completely different to something like Ashden Wave Trials. It uses Swing Copter here as well, not just the normal, ball game mode. It uses dual balls as well. It just tries a bunch of different things, and the actual persona of Ashden, yeah, it looks similar to Ashley, but, it also tries kind of unique things. It has this wing and crown design as well that comes sometimes. And yeah, it's just, a cool level. The quality of the decoration is a bit it is just kind of a worse version of Ashden Wave Trials that lacks any color. But the actual level itself, gameplay-wise here, is really interesting. And this is the verifier here, Rebrab, who has a very interesting channel here. Literally only 3 videos uploaded, one of them obviously being Ashden Ball Trials verification, but also just a random subterminal point completion, I think, and then just a random Acheron Club. There's only 3 videos here. And I also can't find Rebrab's profile anywhere. On Pointer Crane, nothing comes up, and then also on the global list, there's also nothing here, so I genuinely don't know how good of a player Rebrab actually is. And we can see here, this only took 13,000 attempts, and the reason that I said that this level is very confusing is the difficulty. I want to talk about that, because we can see that Rebrab thinks it is harder than Silent Club Step, with only 13,000 attempts on the level. Which, if it's harder than Silent Club Step, it's probably top 10, which means it would be harder than even Ashden Wave Trials itself. And for someone who I can't really find much on when it comes to their skill level, that is a very interesting take. Now, normally, that wouldn't be too confusing, it's just the verifier's opinion, so we just take it, right? But there's other stuff to this story that kind of makes figuring out the difficulty of this level super impossible. Or at least until we have more people actually try it out. Because this is the video of the creator of the level, basically covering the fact they got verified, right? But the interesting thing is this, I'll pause it here. Rebrab thinks it's about top 10, which is what we stated, right? But then we also have 2 more takes from the creator of the level and a former verifier, which state that it could be as low as top 30, and then the creator says top 80, which, knowing how the demon list is exponential, that is unheard of pretty much, at least in modern times when placing levels. Keep in mind, top 10 is harder than stuff like Acheron, Avernus, Anathema, Andromeda, Silent Club Step, right? It's pushing Booba Wamba territory. And then the former verifier thinks it's closer to Slaughterhouse difficulty, to the Lightning Rod. And then obviously the creator thinks it's 80, right? Which would be nowhere near the original Ashden Wave Trials or anything. This is near levels like the Yangaray, Sinister Silence, and Ordinary, with Ordinary being levels that people like Nepesta and Aeon Air are tackling right now. And have done. Nepesta beat Ordinary, and with, honestly, not too much problems. And by no means am I saying these are bad players. Nepesta obviously is a really great player, and Aeon is even beating Silent Club Step himself. But to put into perspective how hard this would be, Aeon Air posted a video learning Ordinary 2 weeks ago, and then recently was able to get 83%. And now it is relearning, right? So let's add on a couple weeks to that as well, and that gives us probably around a month of playtime on the ordinary. In fact, it's a lot less than that, because look, there's only really a couple streams, so we're looking more like 3 weeks of playtime, okay? And to contrast that, he's been going at Silent Clubstep for 7 months, and he hasn't beaten it. So the creator thinks it's a difficulty that someone like Aeonair would take a couple weeks to beat, pushing a month, and the verifier thinks it's harder than a level that would take that same person nearly a year to verify or to beat, right? Which just doesn't add up at all. And then we have the top 30 in the middle kind of take from the other guy, right? It just means that no one knows this level's difficulty. If I had to say, it's probably around the top 30 range, because the verifier did say, don't rely on me in difficulty opinions, I can be very wrong at times, so we should probably say that the other verifier is going to have a better estimate on the difficulty here, but again, Rebrab was the one to verify it, he was the one to fully beat it, so if anyone, he probably has the best understanding of its difficulty. But yeah, not much to say. Congrats on the verification, it is a very interesting level, and it will be a blast to see where this actually gets placed on the list once, you know, it gets rated. Well, actually, it might not get rated. Actually, Wave Trials already exists, and that took a long time to get a rate, so it probably won't. But, you know, on the off chance that it does, or maybe it makes it on the rated tab plus, the Pointer Crate's doing, but from what I know, they're accepting very few levels of really high standards, so it probably won't even get into that. But if it did, I would like to see where it would place. But, not much more to say. Thanks for watching all the way through, and peace.